Hi everybody, welcome out to the Dice Tower. My name is Chris Yee. Today I want to talk about 10 games whose ratings have changed since I did the review. Now these all happen to be games I've reviewed on the channel, and I did this video about a year ago. And so some of these have changed in that last year, and some of these have been, I think, older reviews even compared to then. But at this point in time now, January of 2025, I realized, you know what, yeah, I do have different thoughts, and I think it's worth going back and talking about some of these older games here. Now, if you find value in this video and the reviews that we do, all that type of stuff, I do ask you to check out supportdicetower.com. We are running right now, January 2025, our Game Found campaign, our fundraiser to extend another year of content, and you can even get some other goodies there, and hopefully we can make some improvements around the office. Like, I know people have wanted shorter mic stands than this, and this one's just, it's too little. It's not going to cut it. Hello? Hi. It doesn't work. The first of the 10 games I'm going to talk about, this one is a drop, and this is my biggest drop in score. This is the game Dogfight. This dropped from a 6 down to a 5. This is a game that's kind of the third in a trilogy of sorts with Caesar Rome in 20 minutes, Blitzkrieg, World War II in 20 minutes, Dogfight, Rule the Skies in 20 minutes. Talk about a great theme. I think one of my favorite cover, actually my favorite cover of the three in this series, and the game just didn't work for me. It's too simplistic. The secret sauce that makes Blitzkrieg and Caesar so good is that they're simple, but there's a lot of depth to every decision, and Dogfight was unfortunately a little bit simplistic, where you moved a certain number of spaces in a circle, and whoever's further behind each other but close enough can shoot each other. And I found that system to be okay, and I wanted to like it, and I played with some of the different versions and the settings and stuff that kind of come in that box. The basic mode is far too simple, and I think even looking at the extra modules and different versions of gameplay in there, I just don't want to come back to it. So it dropped from a 6 down to a 5, but I highly encourage you to check out Blitzkrieg and Caesar, the first two games in the series. And I would hope that maybe they could get Paolo Mori to come and do another one of these, or maybe Carlo Rossini, the designer of this one, you know, if he takes another stab at it, something really good could come out of it, because I like this idea of the series a lot, and I love the first two games. So the first one, there's a drop. The second game I'm talking about is Three Ring Circus. This is another drop. Originally, I gave it a 7.5, and I'm lowering it down to a 7. I still enjoy it, and it's one that I would still happily come back to, but I feel myself less likely to recommend it and less likely to be the one to kind of instigate playing it at a convention or something. The idea of moving around this map and putting on different types of performances is so fun. It's so stinking charming. I love the artwork. I love the presentation. I think DeVere did a lot of things right with this one. But I find that it's, and I don't want to say that it's a little too simple, but it's a game where I feel like I want a little bit more richness in the choices than I get from it, but it's still fun. So I'm still recommending it as a 7. It's still a recommendation from me. Just one that like I said, I feel myself coming back to less. So that is Three Ring Circus. Next up, Sabika. Originally gave an 8, down to a 7.5 now. This is from Herman P. Mian, a designer that I really enjoy, and it has kind of this idea of 3 sort of interlocked rondelles. You move in a circle to determine your action. I think part of it is that with this game, it's not just heavy of a game, but it's also tight. It's also a bit restrictive, and so not coming back to it frequently enough to kind of stay good at the game, it's just a little bit more tight resource-wise and action-wise than I want. So just slipping a little bit, and I think that's going to be a function of some of these games that are a little bit more involved and tighter with the resources, and you want to be able to accomplish a little bit more. If you don't come back to them often, I think they will just kind of naturally slip a little bit. So that's the case with Sabika. And the last game that dropped for me, the fourth one here, is Jerusalem Anno Domini. This one is, I still love the theme. I still love the deck building. This was a 9, down to an 8.5. I still think it's an excellent game, but it's just kind of out of my top 100 game territory, and I'm feeling that drop just a bit. But when I think back on my most recent play of it, I still have a lot of fun with it. It just kind of, it burned a little brighter right at the beginning for me, one I still would recommend that you check out, especially if you like this theme. And I think that theme might do a little bit of the lifting that still elevates it for me. The idea of trying to position your followers around the Last Supper table of Jesus Christ. It sounds a little bit odd for a competitive Euro game, and I do understand that, but it still works for me, so I like this one. But yeah, just down to an 8.5. Now let's talk about the games that have climbed up a little bit for me. This is almost a little more fun to talk about here. And so I'm starting with kind of the lower ones, and the last ones are really the upward movement ones. So Marvel Dagger originally gave a 7.5 in the review. This has gone up to an 8. I think that Marvel Dagger it's such a good cooperative game from Fantasy Flight Games that feels like that Fantasy Flight classic that I remember, the type of games that I got into, like Eldritch Horror, when I was really diving into the hobby. And I think that Marvel Dagger pulls off a long, involved... It's fairly simple. I shouldn't say involved, but it is a big and kind of epic feeling game without being overly involved. A little bit much of the setup, but still I find it to be worthwhile every time I play it. And playing it again recently, man, it is so much fun. It's one of those games that's long, but it doesn't feel long, and it pulls that off so well. So I'm bumping it from a 7.5 up to an 8. Trio, I also gave a 7.5, and this is going up to an 8, and it's dangerously close to going way higher than this. Trio is one of my most played card games at this point. I can play with my family. I can play it at any convention. It's one of those games that I said in the review, and I still stand by this. In fact, even more so now. I think this is a game that everybody should own. If you want a replacement for Uno, or if you want a replacement for any of those kind of sloughing type card games, or just any card game that every family seems to know how to play, they can play Trio. You're just asking people highest card or lowest card in their hand, and you're trying to find all 3 of the 12s, all 3 of the 1s, all 3 of the 10s out there. The little bit of memory, the little bit of silliness, and the razzing and the joking that comes from this is incredible. So currently an 8, and we'll see, maybe in a year it'll climb up higher for me, but one of my most played games. Really recommend it. Trio, originally Nana in Japan. Next up, Wandering Towers, I gave an 8. I look back at this and I think, why did I not give this an 8.5? This deserves it so much. Kramer and Kiesling made a modern family masterpiece, I think. The idea of moving your wizards, trying to dunk them in the tower, but also trying to move pieces of towers to crush the wizards, to turn them into potions, cover up the wizards and turn them into potions is so good. And it's always kind of a raucous time. It's funny, it's humorous, it's got a lot of good charm and a lot of great decisions. And when you throw in some of those, especially those expansion magic spells, if you get some of those are great, and they change up the game. So I hope that this one maybe could get like a small box expansion at one point that has extra spells and maybe some other little thing to throw in there that doesn't overcomplicate it. I don't know. Anyway, I think that this is such a great game. So Wandering Towers has bumped up to an 8.5. I very much agree with Joey. What a great family game this is. Surfasaurus Max. I originally gave it 8. I now am giving this one an 8.5. I played this again just on the cruise this month. And this is one of the best variations of poker hand type of games that I've played in a while. You play a card out. The next person clockwise plays a card out. You go around the circle. Everyone contributes a card. Then you go a second time. And you're trying to kind of create the best 5 cards possible there that everyone has contributed to the middle. And you say, oh, okay, hey, we have a straight flush. Everyone who contributed to that straight flush gets points for the cards they played out. Or, ooh, we just got a flush. Ooh, we just got a run of cards. And so it does a good job of both being kind of limited poker hands. You don't have to know all of the differences. Where does 2-pair outrank 3 of a kind, like those types of things? No, you're only looking at the best 5 cards. And so I think that it simplifies it, but it has that same feel of crafting poker hands, and it does it in a way that gets people excited, and you have moments where you're kind of sticking it to other people. Ha ha ha! I played a card that will score now in the straight flush, and I played a higher one, so your lower card gets booted out. And the lower cards are worth more points, but they're more easily able to get booted out. I think this game's incredible. And so, yeah, an 8.5. This game, Surfasaurus Max, is what it was originally. It is now reprinted in the U.S. markets as combo, and it has a fruit theme to it. And I miss the colorful, goofy dinosaurs and stuff, but I will say that the combo cards are a little bit more cleaner and easy to read. There were a few suits that were kind of harder to tell apart on a quick glance in the original Surfasaurus. So combo, if that's the one you can find, get it. It's such a fun game, though I do personally love the ridiculousness of the original theme. So 8.5. Ra. I gave a 9 in the review, especially with the 25th Century Edition, and this is bumped up to a 9.5. I have been having so much fun playing Ra and trying out some of the other games associated with it, Ra the dice game, and I played Razzia recently, but the basic Ra is the best version of the game. 25th Century's print of it is gorgeous and useful, and it just is a game full of excitement and so much fun. So yeah, every time I play it, it just keeps moving up. It's a 9.5 for me. But lastly, the last climber here, Zoo Vadis. I gave this one a 9 in the review. This is the biggest jump up. I now give it a 10. I have had nothing but great plays of Zoo Vadis, this pure negotiation game. This game about trying to move your animals to the star exhibit, and all you can do, guaranteed, is put out a piece in one of the back parts of the board. But anything that you're doing to try to advance forward in the board, you got to negotiate with other players. I have played this game with people who don't really love negotiation. I've played it with people who do love it, and it's always gone over shockingly well. Mike and I played this with some people at the World Series of Board Gaming, which was just several months ago. And that game was a little bit longer. It was a lot of brand new people. But even at that, it was so fun to see the ways that people can creatively come up with wheeling and dealing. It just is a game that gets out of its own way. I love it. So it has moved up to a 10. I do think that this game is one of those just perfect games out there, those rarities that come along, and I love it. So there you go, folks. That's 10 games that have had some changes in the last little year, 2 years, 3 years or so since they've been reviewed. Curious to hear your thoughts on them and if there's any others that you would add to this list. Thanks so much for coming by this video here on the Dice Tower. Make sure to support us at supportdicetower.com. If you want to throw some money in support over at the Game Found, it makes a huge difference for us and we appreciate it. Folks, looking forward to reading your comments. And until next time, I'm Chris Yee. Take care.